Hello coin collectors and history enthusiasts. Today, we're taking a closer look at a classic piece of American currency, the 1980 Washington quarter dollar, specifically the one struck at the Denver Mint with the D Mint mark. While at first glance it may seem like an ordinary coin you might still find in change, this coin has an interesting story, a detailed design, and a place in U.S. numismatic history that makes it worth exploring. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932, issued to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By 1980, this design was nearly 5 decades old and had become a familiar part of everyday American life. The coin was struck in copper-nickel-clad composition, a combination of copper and nickel that had replaced silver in quarters starting in 1965. This metal blend gives it that familiar silvery appearance but with a core of copper that you can see along the coin's edge. On the obverse side, we see the portrait of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. His bust faces left, with the word Liberty arching above and the phrase "In God We Trust" to the left. Below the portrait sits the date, 1980, and right beside it, just above the 8, is the all-important D Mint mark, showing that this coin was minted in Denver, Colorado. Turning to the reverse, the coin features the heraldic eagle design, another creation by John Flanagan. The eagle is perched proudly on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength and defense, while an olive branch rests beneath it to represent peace. Above the eagle is the inscription United States of America, and below we see the denomination, quarter dollar. This strong and symbolic design was used on quarters from 1932 until 1998, before the launch of the 50-state quarters program. In terms of production numbers, the 1980 D Washington quarter was minted in very large quantities. In fact, over 518 million pieces were struck at the Denver Mint that year. With such a high mintage, these coins were distributed widely across the country and are still relatively easy to find in circulation even today, more than 4 decades later. Because they were used heavily in everyday transactions, most 1980 D quarters exist in circulated condition. That means the surfaces are worn from years of passing through hands, pockets, tills, and cash registers. The fine details in Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers often appear smooth, and scratches or marks from circulation are common. These little imperfections, however, also give each coin its own unique character. The color and tone of circulated 1980 quarters can vary as well. Since they're made of copper-nickel, many coins develop a grayish, dull finish compared to the brighter luster of uncirculated examples. Some even pick up a golden or darkened tint over time, depending on how they were stored or used. This natural patina can make older circulated coins visually appealing in their own way, almost like a snapshot of their long journey through America's economy. Now, let's talk about value. In circulated condition, the 1980 D Washington quarter is generally worth its face value of 25 cents. However, in higher grades, especially coins that remain in mint state condition without wear, they can be worth a few dollars to collectors. Exceptional examples graded by professional services can command even higher prices. But for most people, the 1980 D quarter you find in your pocket change will hold more historical than monetary value. Still, collectors find this coin fascinating for a few reasons. First, it's part of the long-running Washington Quarter series, one of the most widely collected U.S. coin types. Second, it marks a time just before major changes in U.S. coinage, as the state quarter program would arrive less than 2 decades later and transform the series forever. Holding a 1980 quarter is like holding a piece of everyday Americana from an earlier era. So, while the 1980 D Washington quarter in circulated condition may not make you rich, it's a coin with character, history, and significance. Next time you come across one in your change, take a moment to notice the details, the mint mark, and the story it carries after more than 40 years of use. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into American coinage, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more numismatic explorations right here on the channel.